Soldier Memoirs invites you to listen to an excerpt from a memoir written about the K battlefield memories that cannot be forgotten. These were the fiercest and most intense days. A part of the youth of these soldiers was tightly bound to this place. Before we step back into the smoke and fire of the battlefield to relive these unforgettable memories, please take a moment to subscribe and turn on notifications. Your support helps ensure that the sacrifices and the youth of these soldiers are never forgotten. Now let's return to the front lines. On the morning of May 15, 1980, I led 5 soldiers along with an 82mm mortar reinforced by the regiment, together with a platoon of Company 1 to relieve the outpost, accompanied by 18 officers and soldiers from units directly under the regiment. These brothers had the task of carrying food, necessities, and ammunition to the brothers in the outpost in a pat and bringing wounded and dead soldiers out. On the way cutting through the forest, we continuously encountered traces of Pol Pot activity. Trails, resting points. The scouts leading the way also discovered and defused 2 KP2 tripwire mines. We silently understood that, sooner or later, the Pol Pot troops would uproot the remaining outposts of Battalion 1 in a pat. In the dry season, it was not until late afternoon that we made contact with the Company 2 outpost and then safely reached the top. The next morning, the replaced brothers and the directly subordinate unit carrying wounded and dead soldiers organized to withdraw. The highest command in the pat at this time included Brother Hoa, the battalion deputy political officer, Vin Black, the company commander of Company 2, and me. We were with the 2-watt radio operator, who also acted as a liaison in the bunker of the old Company 2 command. On this high outpost, there was also an infantry platoon of Company 2 commanded by Company Commander Nguyen Ngos Ngan of Company 1, staying with a platoon of his company stationed at the second peak on the hillside, blocking the main trail from the water stream up. Here we arranged a 12.7mm gun with 5 soldiers of Company B across a small stream by the peak of the old Company 4 headquarters, arranged an 82mm mortar squad, reinforced by the regiment and an infantry platoon of Company 1. The round hill peak of the old Company 4 had an infantry platoon, the entire force, that was commanded by Deputy Company Commander Nguyen Quang Tao of Company 1. The next afternoon, Brother Hoa led our group of officers to the Company 4 headquarters outpost area for inspection. Since the end of March until now, after more than 4 months, I returned to the Tepat flat ground, a whole gloomy and desolate area. Trees were tattered because of the continuous firing of Pol Pot's firepower. Officers and soldiers, both newly arrived, and especially the old ones here, were pale, swollen, and sluggish, sitting or lying in cramped and damp semi-underground bunkers. I stood silently behind the old Company 4 command bunker. I looked down at the flat area below and the old Company 1 outpost area where currently Pol Pot troops frequently placed 75mm recoilless rifles, 82mm mortars, and used B-40, B-41 to shoot up from there. The distance was just under 1,000 meters, so this was the place receiving the densest incoming fire. Gunfire suddenly erupted, the booming sound of B rounds towards the round hill outpost. In here that happened as regularly as meals, so much so that any day Pol Pot did not attack that day was unusual. We heard the chopping sound of helicopters towards the border. Also didn't know what was happening around because for a long time units here were stuck on the outpost, partly due to mines, partly due to insufficient forces to organize going out. It was the end of the rainy season. Hearing the sound of rain all day and night was depressing enough to rot the human heart. We officers and soldiers all day just hung around in the bunker and a few dozen square meters around the outpost peak. I'd only been here for 5 days, but had seen Pol Pot troops twice come right up to the hillside outpost of Company 2 planting mines on the trail down to the water wharf. Luckily, the brothers were always vigilant, so they detected and defused them immediately. On May 22nd, I received orders to stay on duty at the command post at the same time working with the 2-watt radio operator to repair the bunker, adding more beams to prevent high-angle fire. Brother Hoa and Vin Black, along with Ngang Company Commander of Company 1, went to the Company 4 headquarters outpost to meet with brothers there to handle the case of platoon leader Duong showing signs of self-inflicted injury. Until past 10 o'clock, Pol Pot troops from the flat ground fired a B-41 round exploding close to the trench behind the old Company 4 command bunker, causing Tina 78 soldier from Bình Định standing nearby to be hit by 2 large shrapnel pieces in the chest and sacrificed on. The Company 2 outpost, which had a higher position, I observed clearly the smoke puff down in the flat ground, so immediately ordered brothers to fire a few B-41 rounds down there. One round was launched to the second round. After the click of the primer, the round slowly poked out and in, then exploded outside the gun body chamber. Explosive fragments tore out, flying even into the gunner's shin. The round launched fell right underfoot. The fuse exploded with a boom. We standing close by were scared pale. The cause was heavy rain. The cellulose propellant charge was damp. Our 82mm mortar propellant charges occasionally suffered the same. Brothers brought Tin's body back to the company 2 outpost, then shrouded it, put it in a nylon bag, placed it in a hammock, tied it up and hung it on the trench bank right at the head of our command bunker. Brother Hoa used the 2-watt radio to report the situation to the battalion. According to the agreement, the next day up here we would carry the dead and bring the wounded down to the flat ground area, then would make contact with brothers outside to hand over. But until 5 days later, carrying down 3 times, then bringing up again, changing the outer nylon wrapping several times. Even Brother Hoa radioed, threatening to bury the body inside because the smell was too heavy. The rear finally cleared the path and reached the outpost. Seeing the scene of 21 soldiers, mainly regiment transport soldiers led by 3 battalion scouts, tattered, covered in mud, crawling until dusk to reach the outpost peak, safely made us cry with joy. Troops were sick all over. Even medics and nurses competed to be sick so much they couldn't lift their heads. There are no words left to describe all our misery here at this time. Rice in the warehouse was green and red, moldy, full of grit and rat droppings. The cook cooked common rice for the whole unit. When washing rice, didn't dare squeeze hard for fear the rotten rice would dissolve into water. Food was taken care of by each bunker. Food was based on standard ration quantity. The manager issued once every half-month. Our command post was issued a can of ground beef, 200 grams a can of fish, 400 grams the rest brothers found for themselves. Sometimes a few bamboo shoots, sometimes a handful of taro stems, just go down to find or brothers from other bunkers gave. The day the brothers from the rear brought Tin's body out, the battalion favored us by sending an additional half a dried tuna, about 800 grams. Brother Hoa sat meticulously separating the meat. As for the bones and fins, he added salt and stewed them thoroughly, extracting about more than 2 liters of fish sauce to eat gradually. There was a famous saying of Brother Hoa then that I still remember forever. Better accept a bad stomach than leave leftover fish sauce. Whatever fish sauce was left over, he mixed with salt water and drank it all. Brother Hoa was sick. I was sick. Then it was Vin Black's turn to be sick. The 3 brothers kept encouraging each other to try to swallow 2 bowls of rotten rice to live. Pessimistic to the point that once Brother Hoa blurted out a joke. Brother Hoa often joked to forget the misery. Or maybe you and I sneak over to Thailand, damn it. Living miserably is worse than death. Brother Hoa from Hai Duong, enlisted in 70, was the only child in the family. Had a father who was then the deputy commander of logistics of the Air Defense Air Force Service. Later, when Battalion 1 withdrew completely to Sam Lot for a short time, he was transferred to the Staff Department of Division 309, then continued to be transferred to the north to work in the capital military region. As for Vin Black, enlisted in 1972 and early 1981, from Sam Lot, Vin went on leave with me. Vin went home to find and marry a wife. Waited until his wife's belly was big, to be sure, before returning from leave to the unit. At that time he was overdue for leave by 317 days, yet the unit had cut his number, so he was discharged and sent home immediately. Receiving no benefits, still the same smile and leisurely voice. Don't need it. So Vin shouldered his backpack, shook hands with brothers and left. Later, brothers in the division cadre section tried to arrange for Vin to receive demobilization benefits. Until now, honestly, when reflecting, I see just the fact that our brothers dared to be overdue for leave to commit themselves back to the battlefield where bombs and bullets, life and death were unpredictable. Hardship and lack to the extreme then, even if overdue for leave by how many days, how many months, it was still very brave, deserving of medals. But military discipline is still military discipline. As for me, I was also overdue for leave by 6 months less than Vin, so it seemed I was warned. It rained persistently all night. It seemed the dry season was coming, so if the sky had any water left, it poured it all out. Only the small stream flowing from the Ruby Mine dividing the company, 2 outposts from the company 4 headquarters outpost, occasionally became a large river water flowing like a flood. We were miserable enough, surely the Pol Pot troops were also miserable, so after May 8th, they attacked fiercely on the Round Hill outpost continuously from morning to night, a total of 22 times. Then silent until May 10th, they attacked again. That day on our Company 2D, the Pol Pot troops also crawled in to attack the area, placing the 12.7mm gun. There was a strange thing that on the Company 2 outpost peak since Battalion 1 entered a pat, until now Pol Pot troops had never attacked. Not necessarily because this high point had dangerous terrain, but perhaps precisely because of the dense minefields on both sides, especially from the Asang Key direction up. Pol Pot troops had entered and got hit, so they dared not enter again. On the night of May 15th, around 3 in the morning, on the direction of the Round Hill outpost, gunfire suddenly erupted. Sensing something wrong, we all went out of the bunker door, looking over each flash of B rounds, lighting up the long bursts of the M60 fishtail machine gun, the sound of grenades. A while later, we contacted the commander of the outpost cluster over there. Tao's voice calmly reported back there was a high possibility Pol Pot had reached the Round Hill outpost. At this time, the gunfire had stopped. Our insides were burning like fire together, predicting the situation. Personally, I believe that Pol Pot could not yet master the outpost. I knew the terrain over there very well because when arranging the outpost for Side 1, I had walked the terrain widely around, so I understood very well the frontal direction was a saddle ridge, sloping gently forward more than 1 kilometer to Company 3. When Company 3 withdrew, brothers had proactively laid dense mines. The 2 steep sides were also planted with many mines of various types. And behind 800 meters was the outpost of Company 4 headquarters. Pol Pot was not stupid enough to come up by this direction to attack. On the outpost peak, I had brothers build 3 combat nests in a tripod formation. Nests were about 20 meters apart. Each nest consisted of a semi-underground bunker. Connected was in a shaped bunker, then a trench section about 10 meters long leading to a guard post. The combat nests seemed independent of each other because there were no connecting communication trenches, but were ready to support each other. During the day and at night, whichever area the enemy entered, that area fought independently. By 5 in the morning, Deputy Company Commander Tao reported back a soldier had jumped the outpost and escaped into the forest, just returning to Tao's bunker. By 6 o'clock, Tao reported back again. Brothers on the outpost had controlled the situation, and Tao was organizing forces down here to go up. We sighed in relief, especially the news that Pol Pot had captured one of our combat nests, but they dared not develop further and withdrew immediately. Perhaps they were a bit surprised seeing our brothers not reacting. The 3 soldiers of this combat nest, no one was injured because all managed to burst out into the forest to escape death. At 1 in the afternoon, all our commanders were present at the Company 4 headquarters outpost. After spending an hour and a half checking the reality on the Round Hill outpost, then returning to hear the detailed report of the incident, we concluded about the enemy, this was the first time they applied sapper tactics. After many days of probing and removing mines, they had secretly created an opening right in the frontal direction to break in. And before that, all their preparatory actions our brothers did not detect. Right at the guard shift of Hoa, the deputy platoon leader from Nishiane 76 soldier, the early moon was dim. It was still drizzling when detecting the Pol Pot soldier. He had already entered close to the trench edge. Hoa was numb, could not even squeeze the detonator of the Claymore mine. The M60 machine gun placed beside also could not be fired in time. Hoa followed the trench, running into the bunker. Luckily, still had time to wake up 2 comrades sleeping on the bed. Grabbed the AK gun and rushed out into the forest immediately. The Pol Pot group captured the guard trench through grenades to collapse the A-shaped bunker. The bunker house and used B-40, B-41 along with the MA-60 gun fired randomly for a while, then withdrew. We lost 1 M60 gun, 1 AK gun, 1 B-40 gun, destroyed 1 bunker house, collapsed. Brother Hoa was not harsh, his voice soft. He requested the Company 1 commander to urgently consolidate, rebuild the bunker fortifications, arrange more obstacles, adjust, and reinforce more weapons and ammunition, put Deputy Company Commander Teo directly on the Round Hill outpost. Company Commander Engan went to command the Company 4 headquarters cluster, paying utmost attention to encouraging the spirit of the brothers, not letting troops waver in fear. Honestly, life was too stressful, arduous, and fierce all day. 3 people hugging a combat nest, hugging a guard post, sick with fever up to 39-40 degrees. No replacement, dim and distant right at the border. Brothers had a feeling of dead end, wanting to exist. Had to stick together to fight, to nourish the hope of living. Returning to the command bunker, Brother Hoa said immediately, "We were originally all Special Forces soldiers. If following the textbook of research and infiltration properly, the entire Round Hill outpost would only take 15 minutes to be clean. And sooner or later, Pol Pot will do so." The entire incident Brother Hoa reported to the battalion command post by 2-watt radio. Finally, Brother Hoa frankly proposed the opinion to withdraw all remaining forces in the PAT to the Mango Tree Ford before the dry season, to avoid being destroyed. 4 days later, we received orders to abandon the Company 4 headquarters outpost, abandon the Round Hill outpost, withdraw to the Company 2 outpost, and prepare to change troops. Those remaining at the Company 2 outpost until October 15th were ordered to abandon the outpost and withdraw all to the Mango Tree Ford. Thus, by mid-October, the entire Tepat Ruby Mine area Pol Pot had mastered. Since December 25, 1979, the day Battalion 1 marched into the PAT, replacing Battalion 7 Regiment 266, until October 15, 1980, having to abandon the PAT, withdraw all to the Mango Tree Ford, then on November 5th abandon the Mango Tree Ford, withdraw completely to Sam Lot. For nearly a year, Battalion 1 was beaten, tattered by Pol Pot mines and malaria. The troop strength of the entire battalion was only nearly 130 people. We held a PAT for that many days and months was truly a miracle. Later, when I went to work at the division, had conditions to directly go to many places, many units from Palin to Persat Lovia Nam Sap Oda Kamriang. Honestly, haven't seen any place more arduous and fierce than the T-San Samlot area. Ta Pat, we do not overestimate ourselves. But according to the remarks of the former commander of Division 309, former deputy commander of Front 479, Colonel Nguyen Van Hong, he wrote in the memoir The Compulsory War, although within the division formation due to complex terrain and separated by the Sank River. Too far from the division, Infantry Regiment 250 was like an independent unit. Must admit that on the entire battlefield undertaken by Front 479, the Ta San Sam Lot and Nam Sap Kamriang areas were places with the most difficult terrain, harshest weather, and most insidious enemy. Of these 2 areas, San Sam Lot was the more difficult and complex place. That is enough to understand. Moreover, Battalion 1 was the unit furthest from the regiment, directly confronting units of 2 divisions, 415 and 221 of Pol Pot. We do not know if we fulfilled the function of pinning down to create conditions for other units to destroy Pol Pot divisions, to destroy the transport corridor, or did something in the entire strategic intent of arranging the formation using forces to lock the border of the commander of Front 479 or not. That I do not know. Only one thing: we completed the mission of holding a Pat Ruby Mine, one of the fiercest areas of Front 479, and perhaps also the entire Cambodian battlefield. In Division 309 there is a verse fighting 3-1 holding 812, running long 9-6 shedding blood 250, exactly the blood of my comrades shed here. Battalion 1 withdrawing to Sam Lot had been 20 days. The situation was quite quiet. Troops, after a long time of hardship, deprivation, exhaustion in a PAT, were rewarded by the immense fruit trees and countless animals in the fruit orchards, now become wild forests of Sam Lot, offering all kinds of fruits, in-season bananas, jackfruits, durians, coconuts, star apples. Brothers dragged back, piling up on bunker roofs, eating to satisfaction. Companies secretly agreed to zone off separate areas to plant mines, ink pot mines of military region, 7S2 mines. Brothers often called jokingly pig-killing bombs, received mainly used to trap animals. Every 2 or 3 nights an animal was caught. Sometimes pigs, sometimes muntjacs, porcupines. The health of officers and soldiers gradually improved. At the same time, I decided to command brothers not to be subjective, actively, urgently complete bunkers, fortifications, gun emplacements, communication trenches, and clear set-up obstacles forming a defensive position. Company B outpost was about 600 meters from the battalion headquarters along the road towards Ndong, and with the battalion headquarters in the central area of Sam Lot Junction. Company 1 arranged formation behind a small stream flowing from east to west into the Sanke River. The stream was shallow and narrow. The banks places dense with thorny bamboo places with banana gardens, papaya gardens, coconut gardens, argo gardens interspersed. About a few abandoned fields wild grass grew lushly. The position of Company 1 1,200 meters from Company 4 headquarters blocking the road from the PAT was determined by the battalion commander as the main defensive direction unit, so brothers also took advantage of every day to complete combat bunkers defensive fortifications. Company 3 also arranged formation on both sides of the road along a small stream. This entire area was mainly full of thorny bamboo. About 1,400 meters from central Samlot and about 2 kilometers from the iron bridge across the Sangchi stream towards Route 10. This bridge had been blown up. In November 2016, I had a chance to visit this place again. This road has been invested by China, expanded and paved. The old iron bridge no longer has traces and was replaced by a new bridge with a very modern concrete system. Around still saw signs warning of mines. This is an extremely complex area regarding mines. Can say around Company 3 mines were planted everywhere, no knowing where. The first soldier of Battalion 1 when coming to this area killed by a mine was also right here. Our previous units stationed here competed to plant mines and then just left them there and withdrew. All over both tripwire and pressure mines of all kinds. But mostly still KP2 mines, so almost few days passed without the sound of mine explosions. A very large tiger crawled in and got hit by 2 KP2 mines at once. Company 3 brothers discovered had to mobilize the whole company to clear mines fiercely to drag it into the unit. That meal we knew what tiger meat was. Company 2 arranged standing formation in the section between Samlot and Company 18. On the route from Samlot to Endong, Company 2 was a mobile force, simultaneously ensuring there was always a platoon stationed on the peak of Hill 307. This was one of the highest peaks of the Southern Arc mountain range extending from Tuk Sok through Endong to Samlot, creating the fertile, rich Samlot Valley. This mountain range ended with Peak 307. Next was a plain stretching gently to the bank of the Sangchi River. Peak 307 was 2 kilometers from my company as the crow flies straight to the south. Starting from Company 4, the trail wound through the fruit tree forest, then out to a sparse forest patch. Then to the small stream flowing under the foot of the high point. This was the stream flowing west across the front of Company 1. As I said above, Company 2 always had a reinforced platoon. This period about 9 people stationed on the peak. In the dry season, once every 3 weeks, the entire battalion concentrated forces to organize carrying water to the outpost for brothers. At that time, brothers on the outpost had the opportunity to go down to the stream to bathe or Company 2 organized troop rotation. Supplying water to Outpost 307 during the period Battalion 1 held Samlot for a year and a half had to be exchanged for the lives of a dozen officers and soldiers. It was Truce, the battalion finance clerk, who hit a mine and sacrificed while performing this duty. I remember forever the battle where Pol Pot ambushed our water supply team on December 24, 1980. That day, as usual, the water-carrying team started from Company 4. We sent 5 soldiers with guns and ammunition ready for combat to go ahead to clear the road and make contact with the outpost group coming down. That day, among these 5 brothers were 2 comrades who were new recruits added to the unit just the previous evening, and by the next morning, Company 3 sent them on duty immediately. Waiting for these brothers to go for 15 minutes, the water-carrying team with guns, ammunition, and 20-liter cans consisting of more than 30 people led by Company Commander of Company 3 Li Dinjgayo set off. The 5 soldiers going ahead had just moved from the wharf up the ridge to the outpost for about 400 meters when they fell into a Pol Pot ambush. They simultaneously detonated mines, opened fire, and then rushed out to shoot to kill and collect weapons. At that time it was around 9:30 at the company command. I heard the sound of mines and gunfire roaring in the sky, knowing we were ambushed. I hurriedly shouted for Tien, the 82mm mortar platoon leader, to immediately drop 5 mortar rounds according to the support plan already established, then took 3 soldiers to move quickly up towards 307. When near the water wharf, seeing brothers bewildered clustering behind termite mounds and tree stumps, at this time the battlefield had just been silent for a while. I exchanged quickly with Brother Jiao, along with Brother Tuan and Brother Hugh, the battalion political officer who had just arrived and organized to cling quickly up. The area where Pol Pot ambushed the explosive power of DH-10 and KP-2 mines made a whole patch of forest tattered with dust. Trees and leaves were shredded, the smell of explosives and gunpowder was pungent, the smell of blood and flesh was strong. 3 soldiers lay scattered about 10 meters apart, dead on the spot. One was seriously wounded trying to crawl into the forest about 8 meters from the road when they sprayed bullets to finish him off. The burst of bullets shattered the head of the poor new soldier. His whole brain splashed out. I had to have brothers pull the bloody shirt of the soldier up to cover his head before putting him in the hammock to carry back to make it less horrific. The only surviving new soldier escaped death, but it took more than an hour for brothers to find him and help him crawl out from the dense, thorny bamboo bush. The first sentence the soldier said while trembling was, "I do not understand how I slipped inside." When Battalion 1 withdrew to Sam Lot at this time, the formation of Regiment 250 almost lay horizontally on the axis from the Sang to Sam Lot, consolidating into a cluster of defensive area strongholds. The units of Division 341 at this time withdrew completely from this area. And it was at this time that I vaguely guessed why Pol Pot did not dare to concentrate on destroying Battalion 1 in the Pat, but only clung to attack and force withdrawal while the Pol Pot force here was quite large and strongly equipped. Division 341 was an elite, regular division of Corps 4. They were like a bogeyman standing behind Regiment 250 for the past time, until Division 341 withdrew completely to the country for nearly a month. Then the Pol Pot force here launched a general offensive, simultaneously attacking the defensive line of Regiment 250. Our main combat activity at this time was still mainly defensive. Until the end of December 80, the battalion received the first batch of new recruits. Brothers were from Ho Chi Minh City and the provinces of Tien Giang, Ben Tre, Long An, but the number of new recruits was very small, each company, not more than 10 people. At this time we had the force to organize, spreading out to search, manage the area, find and detect trails and corridors. Pol Pot used to organize ambushes against them. There were 2 important ambushes that completely changed the situation in the Sam Lot area. That was the ambush of Company 18 12.7mm gun commanded by Deputy Company Commander Bang from Atay. This ambush destroyed the entire Pol Pot group of 10 names. This was the Pol Pot group specialized in going in to ambush us on the road from Company 2 to Company 18. And the ambush of Company 1 commanded by Political Officer Chu destroyed 8 names on the spot 1.5 kilometers away. Previously in Company 1 in both ambushes, when brothers rushed out to clear and collect weapons, the equipment brothers collected and brought back was all brand new Chinese goods, from clothes, hats to shoes, guns and ammunition, just like they equipped themselves during the anti-American period. After these ambushes for a quite long time, Pol Pot no longer entered this area and attacked us. Speaking about the dry season period of 1981, when I was on leave, Deputy Company Commander Mein Hong was transferred to Engxian. Deputy Company Commander Nguyen Trung then replaced me to command the unit. During this period, Regiment 250 organized to send forces to sweep the border. We just marched past the Mango Tree Ford when we discovered a series of Pol Pot bases and were fiercely intercepted, surrounded and divided by them. Division Deputy Commander Nguyen Khan directly went along to command. Had to radio back to the division many times asking for mobile forces to rescue. After struggling for a long time, we escaped. In this battle, my Company 4 alone had 4 comrades sacrificed, and missing all were new recruits. The severe shortage of troops made all activities of Battalion 1 extremely difficult. There was a sad reality that some officers sent to school or on leave after finishing school or leave sought ways to stay back or deserted, not returning to the unit anymore. My Company 4 had 2 comrades currently taking forces out at the company level, had to mobilize even the manager and cook to get more than 10 people. Company 4, when going to Sam Lot, had exactly 21 people at the unit, not counting Political Officer Lei Xuan Ont, who went on leave from October 6, 80, when the unit was still at the Mango Tree Ford, and hadn't entered platoon. 1 had 5 people platoon, 2 had 5 or 3 the company headquarters, excluding the 2 commanders, had 6. On December 10th, I lost high up Big and High of Platoon 2. That was the battle where Pol Pot ambushed the formation of Battalion 1 going up to the regiment to get goods. 5 comrades sacrificed, of which Company 4 alone lost 2 comrades. In this battle, Comrade Duaxuan Thu, later though as a colonel political officer of Tay Sun District Military Command Binch Dini, went first, so he escaped death. 18 days later, also on this road section, I lost Nguyen Than Sun from Nam Ninh Din Din, deputy platoon leader of Platoon 2. The day Sun was ambushed and seriously wounded. A fragment cut the femoral artery in the groin, taking Sun up to the regiment infirmary. Sun sacrificed. I don't know if you believe that premonitions are real, but for Sun's case, I believe it is real. That night I could not sleep when reading the last pages of Sun's diary. Sun sensed he would die on that exact day. Sun wrote 2 days before he sacrificed. Sun messaged his young wife back home, and there was a closing sentence I still remember forever. "War is truly cruel, my dear." I shuddered at those lines and suddenly associated it with the strange letter of the soldier then from Quang Tri Le Van Huyn. All of Sun's belongings the next morning I handed over to the superiors. I don't know if this diary of Sun reached his relatives. 5 days before Sun sacrificed the last night, Howe was at the unit so early the next morning he would shoulder his backpack to go to school at the front 479 school. That night, the new recruit class was supplemented to the unit in the afternoon and had the first practical guard shift. This new recruit class belonged to Company 2. Company 4 alone had not been supplemented. Around 2 in the morning, 2 AK bursts exploded very close, and the deputy company commander sprang up, grabbed the gun and ran out. A moment later then returned saying as if crying, "Brother Hung Khan is shot dead." I was stunned, rushing down to Platoon 1. Brothers had carried Khan back and placed him on an old plank in the middle of the hall shed.